Hey, what's going on, guys? This is installment one of a multi-episode or multi-installment series where I'll be creating a full-blown lab for you guys, step by step, including follow-along instructions. I'm going to show you how to set up the topology. We'll integrate virtual machines into this lab topology. We'll give GNS3 internet access. We'll do some EIGRP routing. We'll use virtual PCs, virtual machines. Maybe we'll even expand upon what you see here and do an ASA with another company and do a site-to-site VPN and build a LAN on that side. Depending on how many likes and how much feedback I get, we can make this thing massive. So thanks for tuning in to episode one. Today I'm looking to walk you through setting up the topology. We'll probably get as far as the switches and routers and the basic configurations, and ensure that we have NAT and internet access. And then I'll probably hold off on the VM integration and make that in the second video, just depending on how long this takes. So yeah, before we jump right in, guys, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Alright guys, let's get started with a basic topology here. We'll throw a couple switches out here, a couple routers out here, and a NAT cloud for internet access. So let's jump right in. Switch 1, we're going to run all these on the GNS3 VM. If you haven't seen how to set the GNS3 VM up, guys, I've got a video on that. Check out my GNS3 playlist. I recommend you watching that first if you haven't seen it yet. Okay, we got a couple switches here. Let's add a couple routers. Whatever flavor of router you have, as long as it's a Cisco iOS, the commands will all be the same. Let's move router 1 over here. And let's get a NAT cloud so we can have internet access. Okay, let's start connecting some of these devices. Actually, before we do that, let's make sure we have the interfaces that we need. So if you right-click on a device, configure, go to slots. Let's add another fast Ethernet, a couple fast Ethernet ports here, guys. Just add a couple more here before we power them on. When you add devices, or when you add slots or interfaces, the device should be powered off. Okay, let's start connecting. We'll use 00 to the NAT, and we'll use 00 on router 2 to 10 on router 1. So this will be the uplink to router 1, which then goes out to the internet. Let's use 10 to go to switch 1. Let's use 11 to go to switch 2. And then we'll set up sub interfaces here, .1q encapsulation, and then we'll set these to a trunk on this side. So I'll have all these commands for you guys in the description, so you can copy and paste or follow along, however you'd like to do it. Alright, let's power everything on. Okay, now that everything's powered on, the next thing I like to do is put some notes on the screen before we actually start configuring. This way things make a little more sense as we're walking through. And it makes for a very handy reference guide as well. I'm doing this video in chunks, if you can't tell. It's now first thing in the morning, so my voice is a little different than it was in the previous clips. But anyhow, to make notes on the screen, guys, you'll click up here, the annotation button, and then just click where you want the note. So I like to start by referencing all the interfaces, so I know what is connected to what. So for example, if this interface right here is fast Ethernet 00, I'll put that right there. I'll go ahead and put the rest of the annotations together and then pause the video while I'm doing that, and we'll come back and I'll just give a quick overview of those notes, and then we'll jump into the configuration. Alright, be right back. Just a quick note for you guys, a tip I should say, you can duplicate these once you make them. So if you want to create another one, fast Ethernet 00, you can do that. And then you can modify that one to say fast Ethernet 1.0 or whatever your case is. Another tip, if you don't remember what interface you connected, just hover over the link and it'll tell you. So this says router 2, port 00 to router 1 on 1.0. So that's how you know your link. All right, we'll get this finished up. Okay guys, so here's what mine looks like after adding all the notes. You can do things like edit the text. Sometimes it's handy when you have multiple interfaces with notes on them on the same router to color code them. All this is totally optional, obviously, guys, but if you did want to do that, just double click it and then right click and say text edit, and then you can choose the color. You can select the font, make it bigger, different types of font, customize it however you want. I just did different colors here so that we know that everything in blue is referencing fast Ethernet 1.1, black is fast Ethernet 1.0, and then orange is fast Ethernet 0.0. And again, this router has 3 interfaces referenced, so that's the reason I did that. Again, totally optional. It just makes it a little cleaner to read sometimes. All right, so those are the notes. All right, next thing we'll do, guys, is we'll go ahead and get these switches set up. These are just the baked-in GNS3 switches. They do allow for .1Q trunking. So let's take a look at that. You'll right-click the switch, configure, and it's all done through the GUI here, guys, so this is pretty straightforward. So if you need to confirm, we use port 0, but you can hover over this link, if it'll let me, and you'll see switch to port Ethernet 0. You could label that if you want, guys. I normally don't label the switches, but hey, the more you label, the better, right? So you customize yours however you see fit. And here you're going to do port 0, and then you're going to say .1Q trunk and hit add, and then it'll reflect over here on this side. Now it's a .1Q. Hit OK. Do the same thing here. Port 0. It's a .1Q. Add it. OK. So now the switches are set up to trunk on those interfaces so that when we configure the routers, that trunk should come up and we should see those VLANs passing. All right. Next thing we'll do, guys, is we'll open a console to both of our routers. So you can console everything at once, or you can just right click each one and say console. We'll do router 2 first. I'm going to be copy and pasting the majority of these commands, guys. I have videos in the GNS3 series of setting up routers, giving them IPs, doing sub interfaces, trunks. I have a video that covers all that. So if you want to go through that in detail, please look at one of those videos or leave me a comment if you want specific instructions or details on any of these tasks. All right, guys, so all these commands, again, will be in the description. So I'm going to go in here and let's see how many errors we get. I've put together a script already with all the commands. Okay, we got a couple errors there. Let's look at that. Where did it start? It's because I had a different interface the first time I ran through this. So instead of 2.0, today we have, we have 1.1. So we just need to change 2.0 to 1.1. Stand by. Okay, guys, I've corrected the interface reference there. Instead of 2.0, I've changed that to 1.1. So I'm going to go ahead and copy it all again. That way I can verify when I give this to you guys it'll work. And we'll paste it here again, guys. I gotta figure out which one's active. Here we go. This one. Should close those other two out. Okay, so round 2. Fight. There we go. Much better. Took all the commands. Okay, let me go ahead and get these other 2 closed out so we don't get confused. This was from a previous lab. Alright guys, so that was the configuration on router 2. Again, I know I just dumped all that in there, but basically all we did was configure the interfaces and the sub interfaces. And we set up EIGRP, just told it to advertise everything. And what else did we do here? Oh, we set up encapsulation.1Q. so that we could trunk to those switches. We did that on both Fast Ethernet 1.0 as well as 1.1. And that was pretty much it. If you have any specific questions about any of the commands, or you want to see a more detailed walkthrough, again, please first reference my GNS3 playlist. I do a lot of hand holding as we walk through the commands. A lot of keyboard noise on those because I'm typing everything out. All right, let's jump over to router 1, get that one set up. Not router 2, router 1. There we go. Okay, let's copy and paste our commands here. Gosh, this mouse is not playing nice today, guys. Sorry. Okay, router 1 configs, round 1, fight. So more of the same here, guys. We're setting up the interfaces. We're doing a NAT configuration on this one. NAT inside, NAT outside, and we're doing EIGRP, advertising all networks, and we're going to redistribute the static so that the router 2 can learn its default route through EIGRP. All these commands will be in the description, guys. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. Check out my playlist GNS3. I cover a lot of this stuff. But if you have specific questions, whether it be EIGRP or NAT or anything like that, just hit me up. All right, guys, so at this point, we should have routes between the routers, and we should have internet connectivity. Let's take a look. And we should have DNS resolution because we did IP domain lookup. But anyway, let's verify all that. Show IP route. All right, guys, our Ds are EIGRP. So this notation on the route table D is EIGRP. Here's a static. So our default route is going out that NAT cloud, right? That 192.168 is going to be that NAT cloud. And we see that we have statics for the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 5s, the 10s. And then there's a summary route here, all EIGRP. And then we have a directly connected route, which is this link here. So that looks good on router 1. Let's just verify we can ping out. We can. Can we ping by name? We can. These are all good signs. Let's ping our EIGRP neighbor. One of those interfaces would be 10.5.10.1. We can. So that looks good, guys. Let's check out router 2's perspective. Show IP route. Very nice. So we have our default gateway here through EIGRP, and we have some directly connected routes. These are all our sub interfaces, and then we have an EIGRP route for the NAT cloud address, right? This would be the outside interface of router 1. So that's his interface that connects up to the NAT cloud. So let's see if we can ping out here, guys. We can. That's great. Let's see if we can ping by name. So we didn't turn on IP domain lookup on this guy. We can do that. That's not a problem. Give me 1 second there, guys. Okay, guys, we're doing on-the-fly troubleshooting here. I think we need to add the DNS server or IP name server to router 2. Router 1 would have got that automatically through dhcp from the NAT cloud. So let's try that. So IP name server. And I'm going to try to point it at router 1's outside interface. We may have to go a step further into the cloud. Let's take a look. 68.122.219. And now let's try to ping google.com. No. Okay, so let's see who this guy knows. Show CP neighbors. Nope. Okay, show IP route. So he's going to 122. Let's try that. You know what? We can just set this as a, until we actually build our, we're going to expand this lab, right guys? So until we actually build our DNS servers and our DHCP servers, we can just set this as a public. We really don't need it at this point. I just wanted to make sure we get over this hurdle in a lab. So I'll set it to Google's DNS server. And now we ping, there we go, google.com. We have public resolution. So again, guys, we're going to expand on this lab. I'll add those commands, by the way, to the lab. The IP name server and the IP domain lookup, and then the, yeah, those are all that you need on router 2 for DNS resolution. But we're going to expand this. We're going to implement some virtual machines that actually live inside of the GNS3 topology. This was video 1, where we build our topology and confirm the configuration and confirm connectivity. So let me update these notes, guys, and I'll come right back and we'll pop a couple VPCs in here so that we can do proof of concept on the .1Q trunks from those switches. Stand by. Okay, guys, I've updated the notes. Let's do one more thing before we wrap up this video. Let's test our .1Q trunk, and we'll do that very easily by adding some VPCs. These are basically just dumbed down routers that we can act like PCs. And I'm going to name this, sorry for the background noise, guys, my daughter's up, VPC 20. And then we'll rinse and repeat that for each of our VLANs, and we'll get them connected, and I'll show you how to do that. Stand by. All right, guys, we've got a VPC out here for each one of our VLANs. Next thing we need to do is configure the switch. So let's go ahead and do configure, and then we're going to flip each one of these ports that we need. So we'll do port 1, we'll do VLAN 5 for PC5, and then 2 we'll do 10. Those are the two VLANs on that .1Q trunk, as we see here, 5 and 10. So we'll do port 1, VLAN 5, add that, port 2, VLAN 10, add that. And you see those are tagged here now. We'll go ahead and hit OK, and then we can connect that. So 5 is going to go to port 1, because that's the correct tag. 10 goes to 2. We'll do the same thing here, guys. Configure the switch. We'll do VLANs 20, 30, and 40. And we'll start on port 1. 20. 2 will be 30. And then 3 will be 40. Alright, let's get them connected. 20 is going to go to port 1. 30 is going to go to port 2. 40 is going to go to port 3. Let's go ahead and power those all on, guys. And now we will open console to each one, and I'll show you how to configure the VPC. I have another video on this, but it's very straightforward. Okay, guys, let's crack these open. We'll just go through one at a time. It's very basic config. We'll just do IP to give it an IP address. And we don't have DHCP or anything set up yet. Again, we're going to expand this lab to have virtual servers, so we'll have DHCP server, DNS, things like that, and then we can acquire, and we won't have VPCs. We'll have actual running Windows 10 VMs and Server 2019 VMs. But for the sake of sanity checking our configuration, let's give this virtual PC an address. So this is VLAN 20, so we're going to do 10 dot, we can just pick an arbitrary number there, 20. That's a 255.255.255.0. And then you do the gateway on the same line. And he should now have an address. It's going to do a gratuitous ARP to make sure no one's using it. And now we should be able to ping outside. And that's working, guys. So we have internet connectivity. We can route through this entire topology. And obviously our .1q trunk is working. That traffic is tagged and traversing this whole link out to the NAT cloud and back. So I'll just rinse and repeat for sanity's sake on 30, 40, 5, and 10. And then we'll cut the video here. And in the next one, we'll talk about getting virtual machines set up within this topology. That's where things get really cool, in my opinion. But we have to lay the foundation first, right, guys? Okay, same thing here. IP, we'll do 10.30, .10, .20. Gratuitous ARP, and then we should be able to ping outbound. There we go. A couple of those packets got eaten for ARP, but you see they reply. We'll do it again. They should all go through. Yep. All right, guys. Let's look at 40. So it's just IP, subnet mask, gateway. Gratuitous ARP. Ping out. And we're good. Okay, last two. Almost done here, guys. Gratuitous ARP. And we'll ping out. And we're replying. Last one. Oops. Console not configured. Again, guys, this is just a confirmation that all of our VLANs are working, our tagging's good, our routing's good, and the topology is set and ready for a nice little infrastructure to be laid on it, so we can start spinning up some Windows 10 Server 2019. We could implement Kali into this topology. Whatever you guys want to do, we're going to have some fun with it. Okay, last one. IP 10.10.10.20. 10.10.1. I think that's right. All right, let's ping out. Looks good, guys. We're getting replies. All right, so this was a long one, but again, we had to lay down that foundation. Make sure we have a strong foundation here, guys. We got the topology set up for our lab moving forward. So we've got an edge router here that gives us internet access. We've got EIGRP running between these two routers, basically learning all of each other's networks. This guy's doing a little bit extra. He's going to re-inject or redistribute the static routes, which is essentially just the default gateway to this NAT cloud over here. So that allows router 2 to learn the default route to get out and provide internet access to all of its connected clients and switches. We set up .1q trunks between router 2 and switch 1 and 2. Showed you guys how to do that with the sub interfaces on the router and also the corresponding configuration on the switches, which is just, you know, the configuration through the GUI here within GNS3. We created a .1q trunk, and then we tagged the corresponding VLANs here that connect actual client VPCs in this case, which will be removed in the next lab, where we'll start doing some really fun stuff and spinning up virtual machines, and I'll show you guys how to connect those and run them inside of your GNS3 topology. So again, guys, this was the first of at least a few videos where I'm going to show you guys how to create a nice lab for learning purposes, and maybe even to recreate issues you're having in the real world where you need to troubleshoot things outside of production. But mainly my goal here is to teach you guys how to get a lab going for training purposes, and maybe you're just curious about how things work. This is a great way to do it if you can't afford to go buy a bunch of routers and switches, or maybe you don't have room for them. GNS3 is the way to go. There's some other programs out there that are good too, even G, Packet Tracer. I tend to use GNS3 just because I'm more familiar with it, guys. So yeah, this was video 1, our basic topology. We will expand upon this. We'll be spinning up VMs. And if I can find, I know I have a copy of ASA-V somewhere, if I can find that, I'd like to set up an ASA, and we'll probably do a similar topology. We'll act like we have two different businesses, so to speak, and we'll connect those through a site-to-site VPN, and maybe even set up like Cisco AnyConnect for remote access, and we can just kind of keep things rolling from there, guys. But don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Here's our base topology. Thanks for following along, guys. Please click the like button, give it a thumbs up and a subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you think and if you want to see anything more specific moving forward in these labs, or if you have any questions. Next video, look forward for that one. Not sure when it'll come out. It'll be a few days. We're going to be spinning up virtual machines. I'm going to show you guys how to configure them so that they connect directly inside of this GNS3 topology. Till the next one, take care, guys. One more thing, guys, that'll be in the description as far as the notes go and the commands. Always save your configuration, do a write mem on both your routers, and save your project in GNS3 as well so you can pick up where you left off. Thanks.